With Asian parents, you don't get affirmation. You get verbal abuse as a way of showing love. Instead of saying, "You got this, Fiona," they would say, "Don't give up." So intimacy relationship became my way of trying to find the love, trying to find the validation outside of me. And finally going to marry somebody. Life hit me hard and gave me this Welcome to the Heart Pod. I'm your host, Fiona. In today's podcast, I'm going to be interviewing myself because I don't want this to be just a podcast. I want it to be my journey. I want it to be something more than just knowledge sinking. So in this podcast, in this episode, I'm going to share with you about my story of how I come to this point where I'm able to do what I'm passionate about. And I also wanted to share with you the purpose of this podcast and my role in this podcast. So as I share with you that I have come to this point where I'm able to share the stuff without needing to fulfill my survival needs. And I'm at this state of mind where I know that everything's gonna be okay. I have this deeper knowing that as long I'm in a pure intention and sharing out of contributing to you guys, to humanity, life will unfold by itself and the rest is left to universe. But I have not always been like this. Growing up when I was around 14 years old, I had a year of dropping out of the school. I didn't want to go to school and I was doubting, questioning everything about life, about education, about the system, about how society think that, about the definition of being a success. And I was even questioning the faith and the belief. I wasn't in any religion at all. I don't have faith in life. I had that mindset that I will only believe it when I see it. My parents or my teachers, they were definitely frustrated and they were furious, but they couldn't do nothing about it. But then one day all of a sudden I wake up. I just had this feeling that, whoa, I can't be like this anymore. I don't want my whole life to be like this. I don't want my whole life to be wasting my time out of smoking, out of hanging out with the gangsters. I wanted to change my life. But of course, I was 14 years old. I didn't know how. But then all of a sudden, one morning that I wake up and I just told my parents that I wanted to go to the States. If you want me to study, I will study in the States. So then I was voluntarily to come to the States to study for the sophomore year and afterwards. First year in the States, I had a year in church, but that didn't bring me any faith. It didn't even brought me into believing Christianity. It didn't even brought me into religion. Instead, every time I went to church, I had this deeper guilt in my heart, thinking that how in the world that I deserved it, how in the world that I deserved to come to the church, to be in the church, to be saved. Deep inside, I just think that I was not worthy. And then
今年9月25到10月3号，我即将在雪士达山办探索僻静营。那这个僻静营呢，并不会是像普通的僻静营一般，我将结通我的特殊技能，将我的经验本来从麻瓜变成通灵人、传讯人的特殊技能，带给大家不同的体验。如果你对于拿回自己的力量、倾听自己内在的声音，甚至连接到高维度的智慧有兴趣的话，欢迎在底下找到连结。我会开放现场参与跟远端参与的2种选项。放心，即使你是远端参与，该给你的都不会少。而且雪士大山能量非常的强大，即使透过直播参与，你也能够感觉到雪山将给你带来的奇幻礼物。所以还在犹豫什么呢？赶快在下方找连结报名远端或者现场参与吧。
And then it turns out eventually I had a conflict. I ran out of the church. I didn't want to go to church anymore. Even though at the end I was forced to settle the conflict because I didn't want to be cast out of the house. So I settled, but I was never fully feel peaceful inside. I always feel like life is more than this. I felt something was lacking, but I didn't know what it was. So I started thinking. I started thinking outside of myself. I was thinking for approval, validation, for love outside of myself. The love, the validation that I didn't get from my parents. As many of you guys may have already known that with Asian parents, you don't get affirmation. You get verbal abuse as a way of showing love. Instead of saying, "You got this, Fiona," they would say, "Don't give up." So then eventually I have to think outside of our parents, my parents. Intimacy relationship became my way of trying to find the love, trying to find the validation outside of me. It became my way to distract and trying to figure out the deeper meaning of the life. After I studied in the States for 8 years, I decided to go back to Taiwan. And part of the reason is that I was suffering out of the relationship that I didn't feel that was working out for me. So I was back in Taiwan and worked for 10 years. During these 10 years in Taiwan is a process of kneeling down to the reality and trying to forget, trying to fit in. And I was totally brought into this idea of that life is nothing but suffering. Life is about doing things that you don't love. Working 9-to-5 job is normal. On something that's you're not passionate about is normal. And I remember there's one point when I was thinking about to start something that I'm passionate about. And the boyfriend at the time asked me, how much money do you think you monetize from doing this thing that you're passionate about? I'm sure that many of you may have encountered similar situation as well, doing something or even spirituality. When you're on the spirituality, when you're carrying your mental health, your family is going to ask you, what are you doing wasting your time? Wasting your time to meditate, to do yoga. Just when I totally, fully about to give in to my dreams, to my passion, to dream of something I could have, should have, would have be, and finally going to marry somebody, life hit me hard and gave me this present of realizing that I deserve more than I think I am. I deserve so much more. However, at the time, I didn't know. When I was separated from my ex, from my fiance, I was at the point where I felt totally lost to my self-esteem. I don't even feel the worthy of living in this life. I even thought about no one would ever care about me if I've just gone. It was then that I learned that the love I was seeking is always inside of me. Ever since that, universe unfolded itself perfectly to me. I met these people that are like-minded, and they also can't settle with the past that society tell them to. So I started getting into manifestation. So I started knowing that the importance of our consciousness, the importance of shaping our perspective, and getting into action. So I began to take my action, starting the social media, starting to share my spiritual journey throughout the YouTube, start to share what I learned about spiritualities. I even started my YouTube channel I just wanted to share with those who were, maybe they were in my situation. Maybe one day they see this video or this message, they would be inspired by my words. And I even began to change my whole environment. I started to quit my job. I'm not telling everyone to quit your job, but that was what I did. I needed to quit a job that I know I always not like about, and I changed my whole environment around. And I always know that I wanted to go back to the States, and it was the best moment ever. It was no better time than this. I started pursuing my dreams that was long hidden in my heart. Well, so why am I in Vancouver, Canada, right? Well, long story short, universe just brought everything to me effortlessly, especially when I decided to come to Canada. So here I am. The journey did not end here. And as some of you guys may have already know that I went to Dubai before I come to Canada. I was chasing every single spiritual course that presented to me. And I found that the more I learn, the more I'm confused. I began to wonder what I really want again. The norm of following the majority, it seems not to have anything changed in this spirituality realm. Everybody seems to be doing the same thing. In this spiritual group, in this spiritual community, everybody is following that same one person that has big name or famous. Then we tend to think that those are the right person, those are the right teacher that we're pursuing. This is when I realized that while I can learn as much as I wanted to, if I have the money, of course, but without the inner knowing of who I am, without the stability inside of me, without this inner wisdom, inner knowing, I'm never going to be satisfied. I'm always going to be chasing something that I don't know. Even though I'm clearly in this spiritual realm doing what I love, it is actually going to be more dangerous because in the spiritual realm, it's no longer to deal with the material stuff anymore. It's no longer to deal with something that's visible. It's also going to involve something that's invisible. But I was fortunate when I asked that question, when I asked to how to find my inner wisdom, to how to stabilize myself. When I asked the question, I shall receive the answer. So finally, yes, I discovered this inner wisdom path. And I discovered that we all have this inner compass that's allowing to access our inner wisdom. I have many help to help me to activate my heart, help me to access this inner compass along the journey. And I also found that there are many people that have many other way, their own way, to access their inner wisdom, to access their inner compass. So I decided that I wanted to be a person, a guide that's empowering people, that's guiding you guys to activate your inner wisdom, to activate your heart. So that's why I began to emphasize the importance of mind and heart coherence, focusing on opening your heart center. So that's why we have this podcast, The Heart Pot. The idea originally coming from the melting pot. I realized that I have this talent of connecting all the people together. I'm always a curious, open-minded individual who is willing to explore different ideas, different culture, different opportunities. Especially whenever I come to Canada, I have met all these magnificent people who are genuinely in their heart center, genuinely willing to share. So back in June 2024, the first time of me visiting Mount Shasta, I saw this path of being earthkeeper and the bridge between Western and Eastern world. But I just didn't know how am I going to do this. I found that the Western world, they have a lot of wisdom as well. Even many of them are learning from the Eastern world, are learning from Buddha. So this podcast is about melting pot. I'm going to bring in many guests from all around the world into this podcast, into this melting pot. But it's not melting pot, it's the heart pot, because it's about how every one of them use their heart to do what they love, to find their passion in life. I want my podcast is not only just about bringing famous guests on this podcast. There are many people who have a lot of wisdom even though they don't have the big name and the fame. But yet they're genuinely sincere and kind. The people with great heart wanting to help the society, wanting to help the humanity. Purpose of this podcast is about I'll bring in guests who are doing what they love, who are doing what they're passionate about. Finding out what is that one way that allows them to access their inner wisdom, to doing what they love, and what are they doing in terms of what they love. And I also embrace the diversity. Know that it's there for a reason. The guests I'm bringing will be based on they have this sincere, genuine, good heart in them. They have their way to access their inner wisdom and to share with everyone. And my role in this podcast is that, well, I don't know it all. I'm not saying that I'm a master. I don't have PhD or XYZ. I may not have the answer to all of it. But one thing that I know of is that I'm a curious person. I always wanted to know more. And since English is my second language, I can help you guys to break the complicated things, break it down into a simple form, simple language that everyone could have understand. My strength is about analogy. And thanks to my language ability, because I'm not good in English and not good in Chinese. So my role here is also same with you guys. I'm here to learn. I'm here to be curious. So if you're willing to know about how to access your inner wisdom, to eventually find the passion in your life, to know the different ways how people they can access their inner wisdom, or you may be a guest who has a lot of experience, techniques, ways to access your inner wisdom, feel free to comment below or email me, subscribe me in the podcast or YouTube channel. And if you're a Chinese speaker, I will be having the Chinese subtitle on my YouTube channel. Just click CC and you will be able to see the subtitle down below. And my podcast is updating bi-weekly. And I'll see you in the next podcast.